Hello everyone and welcome to my first devlog for my current project. Naming a game is such a hard work, so I haven't decided what to name my game yet, and I'm currently calling it Project Giant Mech. As the name suggests, you all might get an idea what type of a game I'm working on. I'm using Unity3D to make the game and Blender 3D to make the 3D models. Alright, so let's get into it. Before I talk about my game, I just want to say what inspired me to make this game. I'm a huge fan of Doom and EDF games. Both of these games have their own unique gameplay style and they are really fun to play. So I thought, why not merge both of these games and see how it goes? So after working on the game for almost 3 months, I can actually see that so far the game is looking and feeling good. Alright, so now let's talk about the game. The player can move around and dash. I try to make the movement as smooth as possible and it does feel right when moving around. I have also given a dash feature which gives the player a short burst of speed, and this will be useful for dodging enemies and their bullets. The player can also jump around. With the help of dash, the player can jump from building to building like platforming. This was not intended, but I like it, and I'm thinking to design the stages with keeping platforming in mind. Once I make a demo of the game, I will get much more data from you guys if the movement is good or bad. At the moment, for the player, there are 3 types of weapon: an automatic type, a non-automatic type, and an area of effect type. The player can switch around the weapons as well. For the moment, I have given the player 2 weapon limits to switch around from. I haven't added the weapon swaying or reload animation yet, but I will hopefully finish those by next episode. There is another type of weapon which is the laser type. Currently, the enemies have this type of weapon, but I have structured the code in a way that allows the player to use it too, but haven't tested it yet, so it is still theoretical. I made a simple shader graph for the laser VFX, and it looks okay with the laser. The buildings in my game can be destroyed, and once they do, they shatter. I really like this feature because seeing objects get shattered into pieces looks so cool. Plus the smoke VFX and the camera shake features does add to the building destruction. I'm currently not that happy with the building models. Some of them I will change in the future. This is a special type of building that spawns a particular set of enemies. These buildings can't be destroyed like the normal buildings. The enemy spawner buildings have weak spots that needs to be shot at for destroying the building. I added a small feature that lights up the weak spot once it is hit. This will give the player a feedback that the weak spot needs to be shot. Also, I have used Unity's visual effect graph and shader graph to create most of the effects for the spawner. If any of you haven't tried the visual effect graph and shader graph, then I strongly urge you to give it a try. It is much simpler than it seems, but do keep an eye out for the set pass calls if you're going to use it a lot. I had to think really hard on how to program the enemies because I do want lots of enemies in the game, and it took half of the development time to make this work. I will talk about the performance issues that I faced later. The enemies in my game uses nav mesh to move around. At the moment, the nav mesh seems okay to work with, but if performance is lost because of it, then I might think to make my own navigation system. In the game, I currently have 4 types of enemies. This is the most basic type of enemy in the game, and you will encounter a lot of them. They are also highly optimized as well, hence why I can have a lot of them. All they do is go towards the player and from a certain range starts shooting. They're very dumb, but a large number of them balances out for the lack of intelligence. These enemies are a bit smarter and can aim at the player, which gives them a huge advantage. They are not as optimized as the hover type, but optimized enough to have a good amount in the game. Some of them also have the ability to circle the player once in the range. Also, the current tank type, when it is killed, will fire its last bullet, which does a good amount of AoE damage. As the name suggests, these enemies uses procedural animation. It extends both the hover and tank type. The only difference is it also have to update its procedural parts. This was really fun to make and will help me a lot in the future, as I'm not a good animator. The current procedural enemy I have is this chicken leg type enemy. I'm thinking about removing this enemy and create another bigger and better procedural type enemy. These enemies are massive in size. Not only do they have the characteristics of an enemy, but also of an enemy spawner building. Like the enemy spawner building, these enemies have a weak spot that needs to be shot at to kill it. I have also kept the visuals of these weak spots similar to the enemy spawner building so that it will help the player to understand what to look for when faced with such enemies. This enemy is similar to the procedural type. If you haven't noticed, the weapons for this enemy have rotational limit, which took me about 2 weeks to figure out, and within those 2 weeks I realized that the more I know about quaternions, the more I don't know. This is some dark magic logic. At about 1.5 months into the development of this game, I faced my first obstacle, which was the game performance relating to the number of enemies. I researched a lot on how Unity works and fixing common programming mistakes done while making games. I will list all my sources in the description below if you guys are interested. I will not go into details on how I fixed it. That will require a video entirely on its own. But if you guys are interested, then do comment below if you want to know, then I'll make another video just for that. The common mistake was using Unity's API and magic methods. The less you use them, the better, especially the update method. If there are a lot of objects calling the update method, then that will degrade the performance dramatically, even if the update method is empty. So I had to figure out a way around it, which I eventually did, and it took me about half of the development time. I am sure there are still some other optimizations that are needed, but that was the main issue for me, and it doubled my FPS. By the next devlog, I will try to get the vehicle features done so that the player can call in vehicles and use them. The vehicles will include cars, helicopters, mechs, etc. I will also try to finish the flying enemy type as well. This will make the player think much more on how to move around the game. The last but surely not the least is the stage beautification. I will try to improve the stage's look and feel, especially the buildings, and will add some small decorations like trees and cars, which can also be destroyed. There are many more features to add, but these will be the main target. Before I end this devlog, do let me know what you guys think about the enemy color combinations. I was trying to get like a godly feel for the enemies with the color combinations. So what do you guys think of my game, and please let me know in the comments. This is all for this devlog, and if you guys came this far in the video, then I really appreciate it and thank you from the bottom of my heart. See you all in the next devlog. Take care and stay safe. K out.